Hello and welcome to the Big 12 Mafia Holy Rivals. What week are we calling this now? It is the Fearless Friday Pick'em, and we hope everybody enjoys being here with us on this fine Friday. And here we go, finally. Wild Utes in
Just
the
in
house.
time. Just in time. Slides in safe.
Hey,
Absolutely.
man, what's up, guys? Oh my gosh, Bone.
Yeah, it keeps getting better and better, I tell you.
We were just giving him trouble that it looks like he's ready for the game today.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Appreciate everybody being here. We're going to be going through some pickup games. We're going to break down several. I think is the number 8. 8 or 9 games we're going to be picking tonight, and we invite you guys to be a part of that show. You can put your pick'em, whatever teams you pick, in the comment section, and the team will talk about them. And I think what's going to be fun about this is you can actually measure how you do with how we do. And I'm not saying we're any better off than you are, but we do have a ton of fun doing it. So before we get started, I want to ask everybody to please hit your subscribe button, follow us on Twitter, mash the like button, as Moen shows, and everybody just have a fun time. We're a good family here, and we're just adding more and more people every day. So feel free to subscribe and then ask a question or leave us a comment. And then suggestions are always acceptable. And then if you want to become a part of the family, you want to be part of a member of the channel, go to the Big 12 Mafia Holy Rivals main page on YouTube and become a member. Hit the join button and become a member and give Moen some money, even though I don't think he gets any money.
And then he's getting money.
And then the last thing is, if you want to make sure your comment is read, we usually have 200 or 300 comments a show. That's pretty hard for us to get through. So if you want to make sure your comment is out there in the world, we'll review it if you make it a super chat. All right. I hate to do this, but I actually have to leave in 15 minutes. So what we're going to do is a little bit different tonight. We have Captain Butters, who's going to be hopefully a weekly picker that's going to be in on our Friday shows. Captain Butters is, I don't know if anybody knows, it's the guy that flies his plane out over the Puget Sound in Washington, and he highlights the beat whoever for BYU football games every week. This week it happens to be beat Kansas, and I'm not going to show that right now. I want you guys to review that when Butters comes on. But it's a pretty exciting stuff that and cool thing, and I really wanted to include him in on our Friday picks. So do you guys want to say anything before we quickly run through the games for me?
Let's break them out. Let's talk about these games.
Just want to jump right into it?
Jump right in, man. You do your thing, and we'll follow along for this.
Okay, so the list. I don't have the list up, but one of you guys is going to be sharing the list. Who's going to do that?
I'll share the list.
Okay. And we'll just go down in order. For me in particular, I'm going to cruise through these 8 games, give the answers, and then I'll probably jet out. Everybody else, can you guys break those games down in greater detail and prove why all of my picks will be wrong? Because I guarantee they'll be wrong. Cougar Tracks, I don't know that he has a YouTube channel yet. He's been uploading his videos one at a time. I'm actually trying to work out a period where I actually broadcast them live on my channel. He can do that on his channel too. But we're going to work on that. We're going to get that figured out. That's something that's really cool, and we want to support it. All right, Ute, go ahead and share it if you have it up there.
Okay. We get it a little bit so you can
Perfect.
see it a little bit better here.
I like it. That's good. Okay.
Is that good?
Either one. I don't really care.
Let's do it.
Before we get started, let's call out a few people. Nathan is in the house. Cougar Tracks is in the house. Let's see here. Immaculate is here. We got Moen here and Cougar Tracks again. So we're up to 21 already. Let's get on this. Okay, let's start with BYU Kansas. I'm going to take BYU in the points.
Give us a little bit of context there, Bomb. Like what's going to happen in this game?
Yeah, so I did say on Jason's show last night that I do believe that if BYU loses, it'll be greater greater than the 10 points, so I don't think the point spread matters from that standpoint. I think if they win in a close game. So I believe the defense steps up and is able to hold them down. And I'm not saying they win outright, but I think that the 9.5 points I'm going to go with.
Yeah, I think that this game's going to be a tough one for the Cougars. I think that the win last week was a massive win, like we'd already talked about. But this game going on the road again after going on Arkansas, and
Right.
Kansas is a hot team.
Yep.
It seems just like a letdown game for the Cougars. Like, I know that they're big dogs again. They're actually bigger dogs this week than they were last week. I think.
Yep.
Isn't that nuts? But I just feel like it's going to be hard to rebound and get that energy back and everything. So I see KU winning the game by over 9.5. So I'm taking KU in the points here.
Okay. Everybody's not gonna do their picks now.
No.
Just me, since I have to
Yeah.
bail. Okay, I just want to make sure you knew.
But I still got Phil's right there. I got KU for him.
Okay. I didn't convince him, evidently. That's okay. I understand. UCLA, Utah. I'm gonna take. Do we know if Rising's gonna play?
It sounds like he is.
I would say
All right.
80 to 90%. Yes. Yep.
And it's in Salt Lake City. I'll take Utah. Yep. It'll probably be the one game I lose the whole week, but I'll take Utah and minus the 6. Iowa, Penn State. Tell me why I should take Iowa.
Okay, so you want my take on it? I have Iowa.
Yeah.
The fact that they can lose by 2 touchdowns and we still win by picking them, that's why I'm going to be picking Iowa. So you can do what you want, but I don't think that Penn State's got a great offense. They got a good offense. They got a great quarterback. I just don't know about the whole offense as a whole in terms of scoring a lot of points.
Okay.
So I think 14 is a lot for Iowa to stay within.
That is a lot of points. I mean, that's more than 2 touchdowns.
I mean, look at the total. They're only picking them to get a total of 40, and you're getting 14. Like, if they only score 40 points total, so you're saying what? Iowa scores 6?
Yeah.
7? I mean, 10.
Well, their offense has been
much.
horrible, though.
They scored 41. I mean, it's not been great, but they are.
Who did they score?
No, I'm not saying it's great, but I'm just saying if the prediction is 40 is the total and they're getting 14.5.
Right.
Dude,
I get what you're saying. I get it. I'm gonna take Penn State.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I was kind of hoping you wouldn't listen to me.
I want to take Oregon State, even though I like Washington State.
Okay.
In my home state, I got to take Oregon State.
Mm-hmm.
Their defense is I think it's gonna be a different type game. Although the total is huge, 58.5. They're expecting them to score a lot of points. If they score that many points, I'm not sure. I actually think if Oregon State's going to win, they have to keep the score down a little bit. So we'll have to see. I don't know. Ole Miss, Alabama. I am going to go with Ole Miss and count on Alabama just not being on the horse again quite yet.
Okay.
Florida State, Clemson. I got to take Florida State, even though it's at Clemson. They're overrated this year.
Some folks are saying that Florida State had the flu last week, so I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, they scored a bunch of points. You mean after the game last week?
No, like their game against Boston College, it didn't look all that great, and supposedly they had the flu.
Oh yeah, right. I got you. I'll take Florida State. Oh my gosh, Greg Flugar is in the house.
Did he make it? All right.
Nice.
How you doing, Greg?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm sorry I'm late.
No, you're good.
I was doing a one-man Purdue Boilermaker prayer circle.
Right.
Game.
Okay. Well, this is it's great to see you. First of all, is your family doing okay?
Yeah, doing great. Doing
all
outstanding. Thank
Excellent.
you so much.
Of course. I hope a lot of people gave you some support.
Yeah, and I'm very thankful. And I did a terrible job at getting back to people, so I apologize for that. But thanks to everybody. I appreciate it. Let's talk college football.
Okay, all right. I'm giving you just a heads up. I have to leave in like 4 minutes. So I'm going to leave you with the panel, but I want to let you know I really appreciate seeing you, and I'm glad you were able to make it, at least so that I could say hi.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Appreciate it, man.
Awesome. Okay, let's
BYU,
go.
baby.
BYU.
BYU.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go, Cougs.
Cougs.
All right. What are the last
Rise and
games?
shout.
What are the last games we got here? Let's see. So I said Ole
Two more.
Miss.
Just two more
right?
after that.
Okay. What are the last two?
Oregon, Colorado, and Ohio State and Notre Dame.
And what's the spread right now at Oregon?
21.
It needs to be like 45 because Oregon's going to beat them by
Okay.
a mile and a half.
Oregon,
So,
gotcha.
yeah, and then what's the last game?
Ohio State.
There we
Notre
go.
Dame.
Oh, the biggie. Okay, I want Greg's advice. Greg, who do you have? Ohio State, Notre Dame.
I got the Buckeyes.
Okay, and the spread is 3 points. You think they'll win by more than that?
Yeah, I think the Buckeyes. If it was 2 weeks ago, I would have taken the Irish. But I think the
Okay.
Buckeyes grew up here.
Okay. Yeah, they started off slow, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're ready. I think it's going to be a good game. I think Notre Dame's legit. I think the Buckeyes are ready.
Okay, I'll go with Greg's pick, and I was going to take Ohio State anyway, but that really convinces it for me. So that'll be good. That'll leave some leeway for you guys to go and make your picks. I appreciate everybody coming on tonight. Sorry, I got to go.
Hey, Bomber, what's your 5-star special before you leave?
What's
What's
the
the one game that you feel most comfortable with out of the slot?
Boy, that's a good question. I would probably say Florida State at 2. Yeah, I think so. I would love to take BYU, but I had 9.5 points is so scary. Yeah, it's probably not enough. So anyway, everybody have a great night, and we'll see you. Maybe do some Twitter Spaces tomorrow night after the Utah or BYU games. So keep your head on a swivel, as it were, right, Greg?
There it is, baby.
All right,
There it is.
everybody, have a great night, and we'll talk to you this weekend. Bye-bye.
Catch you later.
Perfect. All right, guys. Now let's break this down a little bit more here. So we're going to go to the BYU and KU game.
Hey, let me catch up, Greg, real quick on what Nate picked
sure.
since he wasn't here. Just so you know, when we're going through ours, you know that Nate picked BYU, Utah, Penn State, Oregon State, Ole Miss, Florida State, Oregon, and Ohio State. So,
Well, I agree with every one of his picks. So
see, we're gonna have some words in a little bit.
So
here.
let's just somebody's got to flip and just take everything opposite.
Hey,
and they'll probably be perfect.
We each got our strategies. We're good.
All right, guys. Let's get into this here. Let's go a little bit deeper dive than we did before.
Do you want to hit your Kansas one again since you started off with that?
Yeah, I want to hit this Kansas game. So I know that KU, we've got some other Kansas fans, Kaufman, a lot of folks that are KU supporters and BYU supporters in the chat. This game is a big game locally and stuff in the state of Utah. I mean, BYU's win over KU last week was massive for the Cougars.
Over
And
Arkansas?
Oh yeah, over Arkansas.
Yeah.
And a lot of the momentum recently has been really on the Cougars and like this win and stuff and how it's going to change the trajectory of the program. Really, so I feel like this game, as an outsider, Ute fan looking in at this game, this seems like a classic kind of letdown game where BYU comes home, they go out to Lawrence, they had all the emotions, all this week the media's propping them up and everything, talking about how they should be in the top 25 and everything else, justified, makes sense, but going and playing on the road, your first Big 12 game at KU is a tough task. KU is hot right now. Apparently the weather is going to be thunderstorms, rainy, kind of Kansas type weather. It just seems like a game where KU might be able to take control of this game. And I think they're going to take the victory here by over 9.5.
Okay. Moen, do you got one on this?
I got Kansas at 9.5. I really like what Leopold has done as a coach there. I wasn't quite sold this year. I thought Kansas State was going to be the dark horse. It might be Kansas, folks. I really, really, really have been impressed with how they've performed. And I think that they've got the offensive capabilities to put 14 or 16 points up against BYU.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go with BYU. Reason being, this is everyone always talks about their age, but it is a more mature team. I don't think as much on the letdown on them, and they did find themselves last week against Arkansas on the road. Is that going to make them tired this time around? I tend to think we're early enough in the season where I don't think it's going to have that much of an effect on them. So I think that the Arkansas game gives them the advantage of knowing themselves in this situation and not being intimidated and being in this one from the very start. I don't necessarily think that they're going to win it, but I definitely think they're going to keep it close. And if they ever start to fall behind, I think that's what they did against Arkansas. They fell behind and then they came back. So I'm going to go BYU on this because of the points.
Is that straight up or just that you're going with the points here?
We're doing points all the time, right? The 9.5.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm curious though, straight up, do you think the Cougars take this game?
I actually find that to be a tougher bet. I don't know if I'd make that.
All right, Mr. Flugar.
I think you're looking at a backdoor cover. You saw how BYU came back at Arkansas, and you also saw how Kansas sort of let Illinois back in that game, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they have the defense maybe to shut down a BYU comeback. So I got BYU. They might be down 16 points, 14 points, but they backdoor cover at the end. So I got BYU.
Yep.
Gotcha. All right, so we're going to move on here. UCLA at the University of Utah here. I'm going to give my thoughts last on this one. So let's start with Moan.
I am going to take UCLA. I think Dante Moore is going to show up and show out at Utah. I think he's going to show people why he got paid all that NIL money. Every game I've seen him in, he's gotten better and better and better. I think this is his game. I think Dante Moore. And even if they don't win, I don't see Utah beating them by a touchdown. I think it'll be a 3-point win.
Okay.
Okay.
What do you think, Immaculate?
I'm going to have to go opposite them until I see otherwise. Utah at home. I picked Florida to beat Tennessee, yet I also watched Florida against Utah at home. And I can't bet against them right now. So Utah, I'd pick them straight up too, either way.
All right, the cooler. Who do you got in Utah, UCLA?
Two-time defending, reigning, undisputed Pac-12 champions make Dante Moore look like the true freshman he is. Utah Utes covered easily, -6.
Oh, I love that pick. What a great pick here. Let's go to the chat too here. So we got Cougar Tracks. Cougar Tracks has Utah. We've got Harry Austin, Utah +6 easy. So a lot of the momentum's going on the Utes. A little bit of background. So the smoke is that Rising's playing in this game.
Yep.
The line reflects that. There's been some movement over the last day and a half. It was about a 4.5 point spread. Now it's up to 6. A lot of the local media says that Rising is a go. And so he's been practicing with the ones all week. I think that he's going to give it a go. But everybody out there mentioned this last week. I saw Rising in person jogging last week, and he looked real awkward on that knee when he was warming up. Backup quarterback now, Nate Johnson. Really, really weird. So I'm a little uncomfy with his ability to run the football in this game. That's going to be something to watch out for. Really, we know his mental makeup, his arm talent, and everything else. But is he going to be able to escape and run when the Utes need it? That's going to be a big question mark. So even if he plays, something to watch out for. Dante Moore is an absolute studdo, right? Like he might be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft one day. No doubt about it. The guy has major arm talent. You cannot let this guy escape the pocket. Dante Moore, if he escapes the pocket, he looks like Patrick Mahomes. He just throws darts out there right on the money. So the Utes have to play contained defense, keep him in the pocket. He's good from the pocket, but not great yet. He's developing that still and got to get pressure on him. But I think the Rice Eccles is going to be too much. I'm going to be there. I'm going to make it hard on Dante Moore. All the rest of the Ute fans will, and I'm taking the Utes with 6 here. So let's move on. So right. Immaculate here. So Iowa, Penn State.
Yeah, I shared this one with Greg on his show, and I said that 0.5, that's enough for me. Just enough for me to stick with Iowa and say that they cover. Definitely would not pick them to win, but even when the odds makers are saying the total for the over-under is 40, and to get 14.5, that's huge. So for that, I don't think Iowa's offense is that bad. They're not going to win. But yeah, I definitely am taking Iowa because of the points.
That half point, yeah. So what do you think, Moan?
Yeah, Iowa's defense is not that bad. Last year they were that bad. Iowa's offense. So I'm going to pick Iowa based totally on the points. Penn State has just kind of been a letdown really this year, especially somebody was hyping them all summer. Drew Aller's come out there and just kind of looked off and thrown some really bad passes.
Yep.
So I'm going to go with Iowa just based off the points. I do think Penn State wins, but don't be shocked if it's a late game field goal. I think that Iowa's defense is going to stymie Penn State.
What do you think, Greg?
Well, as Immaculate said, that half a point was enough for him to take Iowa. It's the Iowa helmets, the Iowa uniforms. Everything Iowa is enough in this game for me to take the Nittany Lions minus 14.5.
Hard. It's 17-14, man. It's close.
Yeah, definitely close. Yeah, it's kind of like one of those hard games to predict, really. That 0.5 right there at the end. I mean, I'm with Greg though. Greg, you have Penn State winning the national championship.
Yes,
right?
I do. Yes, the whole thing.
Yeah, I've got Penn State in the playoff here because just how they pounded the Utes in the Rose Bowl. They look so good. Aller looks good. This game's at Penn State, right? This is a night game.
Yes,
Is it a whiteout? We know that. Is I don't know. I mean, either way.
They are planning for a whiteout.
It seems like Penn State might win big in this game. I think I'm taking Penn State here with all those points. I think Iowa might keep it close early, but Penn State pulls away at the end. I just think there's too much talent there and just not enough offensive talent for Iowa.
Good. Excellent.
So I'm taking Penn State here in a night game. It's always tough to win out there for night games. So, yep, give me the Nittany Lions, and we'll see those guys make that ride over to the playoffs here. I want to see them in the playoffs, and we'll see if Greg's prediction actually manifests here.
I mean, has Penn State really needed to show anything yet? I mean, we're going to learn a lot tomorrow. We're going to learn a lot about a lot of teams this week, right? I mean, this is like learning week. This is where we're going to decide who's real, who's pretenders. And I think Penn State shows to be real tomorrow night. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Gotcha. All right, guys, let's move on here. So this one's going to go to Moan. And this is Oregon State at Wazoo. And everybody in the comments, too, throw your predictions down there. We'll read them. We can get when we come across them. But let's start with Moan Division here. Moan
Oregon
Sports.
State, easy. Oregon State, no question. Oregon State and the over.
Oh, the over too.
I'm taking the over too.
Wow.
I think this is going to be a Pac-12 shootout, a good old-fashioned Pac-12 shootout. I think DJ Uga, I can't say your name. I apologize. I cannot pronounce Polynesian names, but I think he's going to have a big game. And I think the Washington State passing offense is going to have a big game. Oregon State's been stout against the run, but they have shown a little iffy on some of these pass plays I've seen put up against them.
All right. All right, Immaculate, what do you got here?
I'm laughing at someone in chat. PS Doss saying they are predicting G5 games now.
Oh, come on.
That is such a brutal comment that I couldn't help but I couldn't hold back my laughter. Okay. I'm going Oregon State, but I'm kind of going different. I would take the under if I was going on this. I do think that Oregon State's defense will be able to do more against Wazoo than Wazoo's defense will be able to do against Oregon State's offense. So I don't think it's just a field goals difference. So yeah, Oregon State.
Oregon State, yeah. Okay, Mr. Flugar.
Yeah, I'll take Oregon State too, but it's a pretty well a toss-up for me with that -3. But I'll take Oregon State's defense to make a play and for the Beavers to cover, I guess.
You know what? I'm taking the Beefs too. I think it's going to be more of a ground game attack. Oregon State's offensive line's very good this year. Guys, it's always hard to win on the Palouse. It's a weird place to play. It's hard to get wins there. It's a small stadium, but it's loud. It's going to be psycho up there in Washington. So I think that Cam Ward keeps it close with his arm. So it's going to be back and forth, back and forth. But Oregon State pulls away in the fourth quarter by really leaning on the run game and just pounding Wazoo. And I think they cover by more than 3 points. I think it's about a touchdown game here for Oregon State.
I mean, even if Oregon State doesn't have the defensive backs to hold them, what you do in that case is you just run the ball and hold the ball, and you don't allow them to get in a rhythm. So, I think Oregon State's capable of doing that. Yeah, they're just going to kind of brutalize them.
Do you guys think that? Let me just throw this out here. So Oregon State plays the University of Utah next Friday, a week from today.
Going to be a good game.
And that's an FS1 game. It's a massive game for both squads. Do you think Oregon State or Utah will be caught looking ahead, or do you think that they just have to take care of business right in front of them now? Do you think they're looking ahead at all to that Friday night game?
That's next week?
That's next week.
And who do they both play the next week after that, since you're asking about looking ahead,
Yeah, I think the Utah's playing Cal, Oregon State. I'm unsure.
I'd say no to Utah then. If it's Cal afterwards, they're not really worrying about that. So I think Oregon State will definitely get Utah's best. And I don't think Oregon State's looking past anyone this year, especially not Utah. They're the conference champions. So no, I think that's going to be a great game.
Gotcha. Yeah, Craig in the chat says no one's looking ahead too. So folks agree with you. Yep. All right, so here we go, guys. We're going to the SEC territory here, which is outside of the Big Ten, the Pac-12, and the Big 12 confines here. So we're going to enemy territory, right? So we're looking at Ole Miss at Alabama, right? This is the hot pick of the week. Ole Miss seems like that sweetheart pick. And just before we get into this, I wanted to give a little stat over here. So the FPI matchup predictor, ESPN's Football Power Index, says Bama has a 66% chance of winning this football game. That's even based on the performance this year for Bama. We all know that Tommy Rees probably is not the answer in Bama land, but do they have enough on the defensive side to get it done versus an explosive Ole Miss offense? Let's go to Greg Pflugar first for his thoughts.
I think the rule of thumb is to go against Alabama against the spread every single week this year, and you're going to come out ahead. I'm going to take Ole Miss. I think Alabama slippage is real, and I think it's playing out in front of everybody, and I think Ole Miss has a good shot at winning this game. Did
they not cover at all first 3 weeks?
They did not against Texas, obviously. They did not against just who they beat last week for sure.
South Florida.
Yeah, who they play week 1. And I don't think they were very.
They've got they had Middle Tennessee, and then they had Texas. Then South Florida last week. That was an ugly game.
I can't remember the Middle Tennessee score, but I would go against them every week this year.
Gotcha. Okay, Moan, what do you think?
Yeah, Tommy Rees wasn't the answer in Notre Dame land. I don't know why they expected him to be the answer down at Alabama. This is another example of Nick Saban's coaching reclamation project gone awry. You saw it last year with Bill O'Brien. And I think for a lot of these kids on the Alabama team, it's national championship or bust. And when they don't make it to the national championship game or it looks out of reach, they quit. And I think that's what you're seeing happen at Alabama right now. You're seeing a lot of kids going, well, this season's a bust. We're not even going to try. You saw it in that Sugar Bowl against Utah. They just for some reason, when those Alabama teams don't have national championships to play for, they just quit. So I'm taking Ole Miss.
Yeah. What do you think, Immaculate?
I'm about ready to give you a whole lot here if you're ready for it.
Bring it out.
I'm going Ole Miss. I don't even need the points. He's playing for that position, and I'm talking about the coach.
Yeah.
You're talking about Kiffin?
Because here's the thing. Because if this team goes as bad as Greg is saying, and I agree with him, they know they're looking at a team full of transfers. They're going to lose a whole bunch of guys. So what do you got to do if you're going to lose a bunch of guys? You got to bring in a first-year head coach who can have the full run at the transfer portal. give Lane Kiffin the full run at the transfer portal next year for Alabama, and I think this is the start of that campaign, and Ole Miss wins out.
Wow.
There you go.
When do you think that happens? What's the timelines?
It's just like Greg is saying, it's a avalanche effect through the season. I mean, if they're already look at what's going on with the quarterback and all the drama about that, and how he didn't want to give the other guys a chance, and so he just didn't get to play in game 2. And so now with the situation, I just don't think that this team is together. I think it's probably a mess internally. And he's saying that he's made a bad choice with his offensive coordinator. Ole Miss, on the other hand, they are going to put up points, and this crowd could turn ugly pretty quickly. And there's probably going to be a lot of calling for him to come back home because he has been a coach there. So I think this is the beginning of the end.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. So Rebecca says here that Saban couldn't land Grubb and had to go with Reese. Yeah. What's going on with Bama? How could they not land Grubb here in the offseason and going with Reese? It's crazy. I can't believe that Alabama can't land a coordinator. I realize Washington's explosive and all, but man, yeah, what's going on in Tuscaloosa? So as far as the prediction for this game here, I'm going to go with Alabama winning this game and covering. I think they win by a touchdown. I think the hot pick is Ole Miss. I've seen Jackson Dart play a lot. I want to see him win a big game, a really big game. This will be the biggest win that really he's had in an Ole Miss uniform. And even when he was at USC, nothing really big too as far as the wins go. So I think Bama at home with the defense gets it done by over 6.5, probably around a 7-point win. I don't think Bama's quite out yet, guys. I think that it's nearing the end, but we're not there yet. And this team is still laden with blue chip talent. We all know that.
Sure.
And they're half 5-star, 4-star kids. They're much more talented across the board as far as recruiting talent than Ole Miss. And I'm not going to say that Saban's a worse coach right now than Lane Kiffin. No chance.
No.
So
But
I got Saban at home with more talent across the roster. Although the momentum's not on their side, I'm saying Bama wins by 7+. So I'm taking Bama.
All right.
In this game.
There you go.
All right, we're moving on here. We're moving on to Florida State at Clemson here. So we're going to start this one with Moan. Florida State at Clemson, tight game. Very, very tight game. What do you think?
Well, if Nick Saban does decide to retire, they're not going to offer that job to Lane Kiffin. They're going to offer it to Dabo Swinney. I think Dabo Swinney, look, the man's won national championships. Mike Norvell hasn't. I'm giving the edge in this game to Dabo's history. I think Clemson pulls off the shocker here. Clemson upsets Florida State.
What do you think, Immaculate?
Me? I'm going to have to go opposite of Moen on this one. I don't know if the rumor is true that they were dealing with flu symptoms last week when they played Boston College, but it certainly seemed like they were dealing with something. That was just a much different team, and they still pulled that out. I don't think this Clemson team is near as good as they've been in the past. And I think this Florida State team is better than they've ever been in the past. And I know it's at Clemson and history and all that, but it's an early game, and the Clemson people seem to be pissed about that. So that must mean something. So I'm thinking that takes a little bit away from their home field advantage. And so with them being down, Florida State being up, and coming back off of wanting to prove themselves after having the flu, I'm going Florida State in Clemson with a statement win.
Very nice. Very nice. All right, Mr. Flugar.
I think the Seminoles do to Clemson what they did to LSU. I think they're going to stomp them.
Nice.
I think this is the week, just like Penn State, just like Ohio State. I think this week people are going to finally say Florida State Seminoles are absolutely legit to go to the college football playoffs. Clemson has nothing. They can't threaten you with their receivers. They can't threaten you downfield. Florida State's going to play up on the line the whole time. And I think they're going to Clemson's offense is going to just not do much at all. Florida State's going to win this game big.
What do you think is like going on in Clemson land, Greg? I'm kind of curious in your take too. Like, I mean, it seems like there's no momentum at all. Is it a Dabo problem? Is the transport portal? Like, what's your thoughts on Clemson in general?
Well, you've heard the stories that Clemson hasn't, they haven't done in the transfer portal like the other top programs have. And of course, now you get behind, right? Now you get behind the other programs. Also, the last 3 or 4 years, everybody's been saying Dabo Sweeney's offense has been now it changed this year, but I'm talking about the last 3 or 4 years where Dabo Sweeney's offense was so predictable. Everybody knew kind of like what they were running just by the packages they were sending onto the field. The pre-snap movement and everything was real predictable. So Dabo Sweeney went and got Garrett Riley, the offensive coordinator at TCU. And I think it's just going to take it isn't going to flip. The switch isn't going to get flipped in 1 year. I think it's going to take time. Hopefully Garrett Riley stays there at Clemson with Dabo for a couple more years, and we'll see what happens. Also, not only have they not done the transfer portal thing, but they've missed on the recruiting. I mean, this is, and you hear from Clemson Tiger fans, at least, message boards and chats, and their wide receiver room, this is the weakest they've ever had it. As Dabo Sweeney, as a former wide receiver coach and developer and all that, this is the weakest unit they've ever had there. And it doesn't threaten anybody. It didn't threaten Duke. It's not going to threaten Florida State. And I think the Seminoles romp on them.
Does that change in the future here? Like, do you see this thing turning?
I think it will. I think they're going to have to embrace NIL, and I think they got a really good offensive coordinator there, and I think they'll keep them. But that's just my prediction. But tomorrow they get stomped, I think.
Yeah, so going to the chat here, we have a comment here by Casting for Chrome. Clemson at home with Dabo getting closer to the hot seat. That would be the shock of all shockers right there. Is Dabo actually on the hot seat? I can't see that. I mean, he's years away from that. Still.
It's the house that Dabo built. Yeah,
I
don't see it yet.
I tell you what, like, I don't know if you guys ever been to a game at Memorial Stadium out at Clemson, South Carolina, but what a place for a football game. You're right there on the lake. It's an amazing atmosphere. When Florida State comes to town, it's always just buzzing over there and stuff, and the crowd is going to be just jacked for this one massive game. But I'm in agreement here that Clemson just doesn't have the offensive talent that it used to, and I just can't see them keeping up with Florida State. With Travis and all the weapons that Florida State has, I think that they pull away, and I think they win this game by more than a touchdown. So I'm on Florida State in this game too, on the road at Clemson.
Nice.
All right,
now
here we go.
Ugly one. This is the ugly one.
Oh, this one is one of the most confusing point spreads that I've actually seen in a long time. Outside of that South Carolina Georgia point spread last week, that was nuts. But this one really is a shocker to me. I want to get you guys' perspectives here. So let's start with Moan. Moan, what do you think here? Colorado at Oregon, 21 points.
I'm taking Oregon. I'm giving 21 points, and I'm taking the over. I think when the line started moving and that total went up to 70, I think the odds makers know that this is just going to be an Oregon stomp down. At home for Oregon, I see them scoring 60 points. Colorado does not have the depth. Colorado's missing Travis Hunter, who is their star on both sides of the ball. Shadur Sanders, that line, it might get messy.
So you're way over 21. Are you like 30, 40 points?
Oh, yeah, I'm thinking, at least 35, if not 42.
Holy smokes, yeah. What do you think, Immaculate?
Whew, you guys might want to go before I go in on this one. But I will give you this if you want it right now. I am going with him. I am going Oregon. It would be both beating the spread and the points. Because I do think that at some point in time, Shadur will figure out a way to score, 21 points himself. And I do think that Oregon will probably get 49 to 50 points at least. Oregon is a running team. They have a great running game, and that is the kryptonite for Colorado in terms of their defense. They don't have Travis Hunter, so now their backfield, their defensive backfield is very questionable because you don't have someone to lock down their number one. You don't have him on an offense, and that's the one guy that I've seen that Shador feels comfortable throwing up a ball to. If it's a one-on-one throw up 50-50, that's the only guy I've seen that he is really into, and that showed when he just kept dumping the ball every time until Colorado State finally pulled back and went on prevent, and he was able to pick them apart. So I think Oregon will keep the pressure on all game long, and I think, unfortunately, I think this one's going to be ugly, and I think lack of Travis Hunter is a big part of it.
Yeah, gotcha. All right, Greg. Greg the Cooler. What do you think?
Well, even though I don't like agreeing with a Hawkeye and a Buckeye, especially on the same play, I have to go with Oregon, and they said it a lot better than I could ever say it. I think they're going to just I think Colorado is going to have a bad day, and I think it happens tomorrow. And Colorado's not going to be able to stop the Ducks running all day long. So Oregon's going to score in a lot of different ways, and I think minus 21 is not going to be a problem.
Gotcha. What do you guys think that FPI has this game at? A percentage of a chance to win? If I had to throw that out there.
For Colorado?
86.
For Oregon winning this game, what do you think FPI, the matchup predictor, has?
What'd you say, Mullen? 76?
I said 86 for Oregon. 86%.
Yeah, that sounds about right. 88.
What do you think, Immaculate?
I don't know. I actually don't get into that too much. I'm just going to go with those gentlemen, what they said.
It's 94% for Oregon in this game.
Damn.
That is some crazy stuff right there. I mean, everything's pointing to Oregon winning this game big, right?
I would have said in the 80s, 94%.
Yeah,
wow.
and that's the analytics too, with Colorado's recent performances, the TCU win, and everything. So I mean, that is wild stuff.
That's the Travis Hunter effect right there.
I think this one's really a no-brainer too. That Colorado's going to cover. I think Colorado covers this game. The reason I think that is because I bet against Colorado the first 3 weeks of the season, and I'm tired of losing on these Colorado bets.
This might not be the one to change your mind.
You know what? 21 points is a 3-touchdown wiggle room. I don't, guys. I don't know. Like, I mean, it's hard to bet against Coach Prime. I'm just telling you guys. Like, I
agree.
Doesn't make sense.
I want to be wrong, but
nothing on paper says you should be taking Colorado in this game. Even I'm not taking them straight up, but even at the 21-point mark. But there's just some magic that I can't really explain that you only see sometimes in college football. I feel like that magic's going to come out again. I think that the kids are going to play their tails off even without Travis Hunter, and I think that they make this a closer game than most people realize. So I'm taking Colorado.
All right.
Probably at a 10-point, 7-point loss here in this game. Moan Sports. The next game, Ohio State at the dreaded Notre Dame Fighting Irish. We need details. We need your perspectives. We need your takes. Get it all out right now.
Well, here's a question for Greg. Greg, do you know the last time Notre Dame beat Ohio State?
1992.
No. It was before Paul Brown was the Ohio State coach. It was 1936 was the last time Notre Dame beat Ohio State in football. And it's going to continue to be since 1936. Ohio State's going to win tomorrow. Kyle McCord has matured. But the big difference, I think, is going to be this defense. I got the silver shades on. The silver bullet defense is back. You saw it last week. Ball hawking, running to the ball, 4 or 5 Buckeyes around making tackles. And that's going to make the difference. JTT, Jack Sawyer, going to get in Sam Hartman's face, make him make a mistake. Ohio State rolls.
Nice. What's going to happen if Notre Dame wins this game? How's the Moan household going to be?
Well, we've got a lot of bourbon here.
All right, Immaculate.
Nice.
What's your view of this game? This is a massive one. Ohio State at Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot, this feels like one of the biggest games of the year. It might be the biggest game of the year. It is so big. Awesome.
I think both of these teams next year would make it into the playoff. That's how highly I think of both of these teams. Despite what happens in this game, I still think that both of them would make it in. But despite that, I think we have seen Notre Dame. What we have seen, they are the most ready team maybe week one. We have seen what they are, and it's really good. But Ohio State showed us last week what they are. And they have less film on tape for Notre Dame to prepare on, and they still don't really know fully how Ohio State will come at them, whereas everything that Notre Dame has to bring, Ohio State's going to be prepared for it. I definitely think Ohio State's going to get this one right there at Notre Dame, so Ohio State.
All right, I want to hear a Big Ten perspective here too. I know you guys are all Big Ten guys, but here, Greg Flugar here. I want to hear the Minnesota Golden Gophers perspective on Ohio State at Notre Dame here. What do you think about this one?
Well, 2 weeks ago, I would have picked the Irish. Now I'm picking the Buckeyes. I think Notre Dame is legit. I had them right outside the college football playoffs in my preseason predictions. I think Sam Hartman is fantastic. Notre Dame has the edge in quarterback, even though Kyle McCord looked really, really good now, or did last week. And I'm watching Wisconsin score another touchdown, those evil Badgers. And but the Buckeyes, I think, are going to send a message this week, loud and clear. And I think people in Michigan and Penn State probably should listen. I think the Buckeyes are going to play a great game. I just feel it. I think Kyle McCord, the game's probably getting a little bit slower for him. The running attack is going to be fantastic. The only thing that would worry me as a Buckeye fan is, I don't know, their offensive line still doesn't seem settled to me. That left tackle position doesn't seem to be solved yet. But other than that, I'm taking the Buckeyes. It's going to be a good game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I will give the 3 points to Notre Dame. I'll take the Buckeyes.
Gotcha.
All right.
Yeah, this game out here, again, one of the biggest games of the year. It's going to be an awesome game to watch. I mean, Marvin Harrison watching scored touchdowns in this one. Sam Hartman's such a stud. I mean, he just has that look too. I don't know, like he's got that like mountain guy kind of type of look. I love that and stuff. He just looks like a real true, field general out there for Notre Dame. I think that Notre Dame's going to keep this game close. Whereas in past years, they just get absolutely manhandled, blown out. I mean, this is going to be rocking out there in Notre Dame land and stuff. I mean, the students are going to be jacked and everything. It's going to be loud. It's going to be fun. Ohio State's going to come to play, and it's going to be a close game, but Ohio State's going to beat the spread, 4 points, 7-point win. I just don't see Ohio State going down. That'd be the shock of all shockers. What do you say, 1936? Isn't that what everyone's saying the last time?
1936.
1936. Could this be the year? Holy smokes. Could this, if it's not going to be this year, when's it going to be?
Yeah, it's not going to happen because we're probably not going to play them again because they're not going to be in our conference and schedule. Another interesting thing I'll bring up about this game, though, is Ohio State was given an allotment of 5,000 tickets to sell to their fans. Notre Dame specifically spread them out throughout the stadium so as not to have a sea of red. Yeah. So as not to have a sea of red. But it's still probably going to be a 50-50 game. Ohio State fans buying up a lot of tickets. But that's something the Irish will do to you. They were real sneaky. They gave us 5,000 tickets, but then they spread them out all around the stadium. That way they don't have a section of condensed Buckeyes to give them any crap. I'll just let you know this. At Ohio State, we give the allotments all in the same section, all the way in the upper stands. That's the way you're supposed to do it. Notre Dame trying to cheat again.
Hey, Larry Pilgrim's asking here, how are the Notre Dame corners and safeties?
They're decent.
I don't know if there's a
but the problem is it's four receivers that are all outstanding receivers, guys. I mean,
Yep.
The worst receiver at Ohio State just transfers and wins a Heisman Trophy at Alabama.
Mhm.
That's literally the case. Carnell Tate, this kid is a monster. I have heard nothing but tales of fantastic one-handed catches from the coaches down there. Marvin Harrison Jr. said, wow, this kid's out here balling every day as a freshman. He lost his mom earlier this year in a shooting in Chicago. I think this is going to be his game. I think he's going to go. He was recruited by Notre Dame as well. I think he's going to go there. I think he's going to do this one for his mother. I think it's a big win for him. But that's one. You can't have safeties. Okay, you cover Marvin Harrison Jr. You leave Emeka Egbuka open. Okay, you cover Emeka Egbuka. You leave Julian Fleming open. You cover Julian Fleming.
Yeah.
You leave Carnell Tate open. You cover Carnell Tate. You leave Xavier Johnson open. It's an embarrassment of riches. Brian Hartline he's settling into that OC role. I think you're going to see that Ohio State's going to be very good on offense moving forward. The defense is really starting to come together. I love what Jim Knowles has done. Ball hawk. You see him. They might get a catch for 7 yards, but there's 6 Buckeyes around them just waiting to lay the lumber to them. And the other thing that I would bring up is there are some offensive line issues. We have stumbled on the run game, but I think that we're going to move to what works best. We're going to throw in order to run. Most coaches want to do it the other way. We'll run to throw. Ohio State's going to have to throw to run.
Hartline's going to look pretty good in Spartans green next
Oh
year.
my goodness!
Oh no! I put on Twitter.
He
my
was waiting to
realistic
ambush you with
thought.
that one. He was just cooking with that one, waiting on you.
You know Joe Rossi is going to look good.
No, come on. Don't say that. Look, Benjamin Morrison's a great cornerback for Notre Dame, although, he's just one guy, right? But he makes a play every single game for Notre Dame. Benjamin Morrison, some people had him on their pre-All-American team, first-team All-American going in this year. Going back to the question that Larry had.
Yep. Well, hey, Greg, so question about last week. What happened to the Golden Gophers last week? A lot of us had our picks on the Golden Gophers, so diagnose the game real quick.
Diagnosis. Well, the Gophers did I think the Gophers won the line of scrimmage in that game. They lost 31-13, but the Gophers had the edge in the line of scrimmage. The quarterback position could not have been a wider gulf. It was our guy.
Spoken like a fellow Big Wester.
The Greek rifle. That's his worst game. And he played like his hair was on fire. He threw a fastball when he just needed to throw a little changeup. He couldn't make any plays out there. And I'm telling you, Drake May threw some passes that we haven't seen against the Gophers in years. He was absolutely brilliant. That was the difference in the game. The line of scrimmage, North Carolina, they couldn't run it. Gophers stuffed them. We could run it. Darius Taylor, a true freshman running back, who had one rushing attempt against Nebraska, had 190-some yards against Eastern Michigan, ran over North Carolina, but a quarterback position, once again, the forward pass, this thing called the forward pass in modern day in college football, still hasn't come to the University of Minnesota with the exception of the 2019 season. That is my analyst of the game. It was, and we better look better tomorrow. That's all I got to say. I'm going to have my head underneath the blanket and peeking out from under the blanket once in a while. And Gophers better win. Gophers better win big tomorrow night against Northwestern, or we got issues.
Definitely. Yeah, the Tough Tony says the Greek squirt gun.
I don't know what was. I mean, it wasn't that he just played bad. It was he if a guy was 10 feet away from him, he threw the ball as hard as he possibly could. It was bad. It was as bad a quarterback performance I have seen at the University of Minnesota, and I have seen for the last 50 years. It's been brutal at that position, and that's one of the worst performances I've seen. So, but Darius Taylor, the question now is, can Minnesota keep him after this year? Because this running back, I'm telling you, if you haven't heard his name yet, the NIL offers that he's going to get after this year are going to be just enormous. Just like Bucky Irving, we lost him 1 year. We had him here 1 year. He went to Oregon. They contacted him before he went in the transfer portal. Off he went. This Darius Taylor is not going to stay in Minnesota. I don't know who's going to get him, but his NIL offers are going to be enormous. He is legit.
Maybe he could go with PJ Fleck to Michigan State.
A lot of people have that fear.
It's getting talk.
From Michigan, he was offered by Michigan State late as their second running back. He was offered by Michigan as their third running back in the class, but he stuck with this commitment to Michigan. He was his senior year at Michigan high school was incredible. He dominated. He was an early enrollee. He dominated the spring game. He dominated August camp. He had one rush against Nebraska. That's why I told everyone, hang on after the Nebraska game. Hang on. We haven't played our guys that are going to play, and now we've played them, and he's legit. So I don't know where he's going to play. Hopefully he's Minnesota next year. Yeah. But, well, you'll see. Once he plays more games, you guys will hear Darius Taylor over and over and over again. He's legit.
So, Greg, one more topic before we let you go here. I know you had a live show before this too, so you're probably pretty tired and everything. But I've got to get your thoughts on this. So, article came out today. I forgot the source, but it was one of the major reporting sites that said that Cal, Stanford, in communication with the Big 12. The Big 12 was considering possibly adding those the schools, and it looks like there were 4 schools that voted against that. It was Texas Tech was one of them, Iowa State,
Kansas State.
Yeah, like I would like to get. I think it would be good to socialize and have a conversation around that to get your perspective on why that was and your thoughts around why not add those schools to the Big 12. And because there are a lot of folks in the Big 12 land actually wanted to make the move to grab those schools, those elite, West Coast schools and everything. What were your thoughts on that?
I didn't really think. I think the Big 12 played it right. I think they played it correct. I don't think I think they're better off how they are right now. That's their. I think the composition of their 16 schools is where they want to be. I don't think they want to take Stanford and Cal. I know what now. It sounded like most schools would have been in favor of it. Correct? Like majority of the schools would have been if the dollars were, if it didn't dilute, right? Am I getting that right? But it was at least 4 schools that were pretty much hard nosed, at least. They weren't the votes. Right. I don't know. I think there's a whole lot of things that are going to be going on in the East Coast. And I think Big 12 is setting themselves up as one who's going to eat at that table eventually. And I think that's what they're keeping those slots open. I think they did right. That's my thoughts on it. And I didn't, and I never heard from people I've talked to that really became anything serious. That Big 12 was going to, it never became something that was imminent or So I think maybe the story's a little bit more than it truly was.
Yeah.
The reality of it.
What do you think about that, Immaculate?
I don't think that the Big 12 ever would have taken them. I'm also not sure if they ever actually were too serious about wanting to join. The other story that we got in the background was that Stanford and California were actually trying to drag the Four Corners with them to the ACC, and the ACC wanted to take all 6. And I think that's more likely. In terms of maybe there was some talk in the Big 12, like, hey, should we end this and offer Stanford and California too, just to kind of take all of them since they were a thing to go to ACC, and that probably got shot down. But in terms of whether there's serious talk, I have a hard time believing that. I actually think Stanford wants to be in the ACC. The funny part is that Colorado is getting paid to go to another conference, whereas Stanford is having to give up money to go to another conference. To me, that's the funniest part about the whole damn story.
That's a good point.
Yeah, the Colorado signing bonus of
Yeah,
or $3 million.
Never heard of it put out like a signing bonus to join a conference as a school. It's so your mark and Prime and just the whole new.
It wasn't
era.
a signing bonus, guys. They were moving fees. They
Right,
had to move a lot of stuff.
Storage and moving fees.
Yeah.
All right, Mon, I've got to get your perspective on this too. What do you think about this situation?
Well, I don't want to go down too deep of a rabbit hole, but this was never going to happen. Notre Dame would have stepped in and prevented it from happening. They have basically assembled their own conference in the ACC, and when the other 4 or 5 schools leave, they're going to backfill. They'll join as full members. They'll have their own little conference at the ACC. So this was never going to happen.
Yeah.
I like that they did the straw poll, but even if that poll had come back unanimous, Stanford would have pulled that back because Notre Dame would have came to them and said, look, we can get you in the ACC. You'll be with us. You'll be with UNC for a while. You'll have Pitt. You'll have all these great academic institutions. Don't go to the Big 12.
Yep.
I know Greg. I don't know what Greg's sources have told him, but I've been told that Cal and Stanford had also reached out to the Big 10, and then that suddenly was withdrawn. So obviously somebody told them to withdraw, and there's only one candidate for who did that. Blame Notre Dame.
I'll leave you with this. There are people in the industry right now digging to see where the Notre Dame NBC talks are actually at right now. Yep. That's happening right now. That's happening today, 22nd September, right now.
It needs to happen, so I totally believe you on that.
What I mean, there are people people are trying to get an answer right now on where that is, where that story is. So,
but they end up having to get that answer from the guy who's going to be the future Notre Dame athletic director. So, good luck.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I think that's going to be the story. However it looks, whatever the reporters, whatever they find out, that's going to be like a story that's going to be out there in probably next week. So I'll just leave you with that. That's the story that people are digging on. So, alrighty, guys. Thanks.
Very good. Thanks for jumping on, Greg.
Hey, right. Thanks, Greg.
Take care.
Good seeing you, Greg.
Gophers. Beat Northwestern. Let's go.
Go Gophers.
Man, if they don't beat Northwestern,
we're
going to have to do some other consoling of Greg next week.
PJ Fleck might be looking for that Michigan State job.
He may not make it to the end of they might be like, you know what? Just go to Michigan State. Just go.
Hey, guys, check this out. So we've got a comment here from Extra. What about the Monty rumor of the Big 12 and FSU talking?
Wasn't really his rumor. He's just taking stuff that was out there.
Is there any smoke to that? What's the likelihood that FSU?
I mean, I'm sure they're doing their due diligence, as we call it. Like, hey, we got this offer from them. I mean, it's your mark. He probably threw him a number. He doesn't give a shit. Sorry about my language, but that your mark does not care. I mean, he's given signing bonuses to get Colorado to break that up. I mean, who knows what he told Florida State and Clemson and North Carolina if they actually did that. I mean, it probably would have been a fun conversation to be listening in on.
Yeah, what do you think about that, Mon? Any likelihood that FSU joins the Big 12 one day?
You and I are talking right now. That doesn't mean we're getting into a business agreement.
Exactly. Yeah.
There is no chance that Florida State is joining the Big 12. I'm sorry, Big 12 bros. It's not going to happen. They're either going SEC or Big 10. My belief is they're going Big 10. Florida State to the F. I really don't believe there's going to be very many schools that are going to be available to join the Big 12 from the ACC.
I'm thinking the same thing. I don't see that FSU really going to the Big 12, but the Big 10 seems like a natural fit really for FSU. I just think that FSU and the Big 10 could really be powerful. And if FSU goes to the SEC, I don't know, they're probably just, another school, above average school. But I think that FSU, if they get in the Big 10, watch out. Seriously, with the recruiting out of Florida coming up there to the Midwest, it just seems dangerous to me. Like, it seems like FSU would be lightning up there. And so I don't know about the Big 12. I would say that's very, very unlikely. But man, keep in mind, look out for the Big 10, FSU, and also some perspective on the Cal and Stanford and the Big 12. So the thing with that is like cultural fit wise, like we've talked about that a bunch, guys. There's just not a fit there there wasn't a fit there with Stanford and Cal and the Big 12 all along and everything. So there's so many things that wouldn't have worked with that marriage. It was never going to be signed off on financially, viewership wise. I don't think they brought enough to the table. So it makes sense why that never happened. And like you said, Immaculate too, it makes sense why they moved over to the ACC. But I'm just like curious, like all the smoke's going on right now with FSU possibly, leaving, like we've been talking about for a year, and Clemson leaving. Like, what are you thinking right now as a Cal fan, as a Stanford fan, as an SMU fan? You're about to join up with the ACC next year, and all of a sudden everyone's talking about jetting before you're even in the conference. Like, what are your thoughts? What do you do about that? Like, it kind of feels like they're in a really kind of a hopeless situation where they're going to a place that's going to be a black hole to me. But what are your thoughts on that, Immaculate?
Well, I could go for a while on this one. I think that Stanford and Duke are cohorts, and I think they have a plan, and therefore I think California knows about it. So I think that they're less worried than one would think just upon the surface, because just on the surface of things, everything you say, they should be worried, because it looks pretty clearly like they're coming in to backfill for the three schools who said no to them. Like when you have the numbers that match up like that, and then they come out and say, well, we're trying to keep at 15 because that's what the contract says. And obviously they're trying to stay at 15, but I don't think that's the end of it. And I think that they might have other plans. So I think that they're less worried than one might think.
Yeah. What do you think, Moan?
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole, but I do think that Notre Dame has played this wonderfully for Notre Dame, as they always do. They pulled Stanford and Cal in. They had SMU pay for it. I think they'll let those three schools go. They can join as a full member. Then you can add a Rice, a Tulane, a USF. Lots of schools that you can add in there that are going to be good research schools, good academic schools. You're going to have schools like Pitt that aren't going to want to leave because Pitt has history with Notre Dame. Pitt's a great academic fit. Same with Syracuse. Syracuse would probably stick around. So you're only going to have 4 or 5, maybe 6 at the most ACC schools looking to leave. Maybe the Big Ten gets, in my belief, the Big Ten gets Florida State, North Carolina. The SEC pries away North Carolina State and Clemson. Louisville might be available for the Big 12. Beyond that, it's hard to see anybody wanting to leave.
You know what? The thing is, guys, like if these schools leave, if FSU's gone, if Clemson's gone, if Miami's gone, and others, like, I mean, what kind of financial payout are you going to be getting once these schools leave? I mean, like, the Pac ran into that with USC leaving, but like, really, you're looking at a conference that's probably just going to yield anywhere like $20 million a year in revenue distributions, right?
Keep in mind that Notre Dame at that point would become a full member of the ACC, so that Notre Dame money would replace all those schools that leave. Yeah. Notre Dame is more valuable than those 3 brands combined.
I agree.
So Notre Dame valuation, can we talk about that for a second? I know that we're kind of going down that hole and everything, but from everything that I've studied and seen, Notre Dame's an extremely valuable brand, a top 3 brand in college football, but they're not even at the level of like a UT Austin like, or even Ohio State. From everything I've seen, Ohio State and Texas are more valuable brands than Notre Dame. So why do you think Notre Dame just going to the ACC can replace the value of 4 big-time schools? I just don't see that really being the case. I mean, I could see the case for 2 of them, but 4 to 6 of them.
To be
Just can't
fair,
see
your
it.
figures probably only included the United States of America. Notre Dame is one of those rare international brands. They just sold out a stadium in Ireland based off of that fact that they're the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. There's a billion Catholics in the world, Philip, and that's their team. So,
and even if they don't fully meet that value, they make up a considerable amount of it to where the drop off wouldn't be as much as people think. But he's right; it does require Notre Dame to sign on to that. If Notre Dame does pull out then to go to the Big Ten as well, then the ACC is in some trouble in terms of value. I think they still stay together and still have something, but they will be at a pay level considerably lower than the Big 12. But if Notre Dame sticks with them, I actually think they could get a payout above, because if Notre Dame's willing to jump in there, you're going to start to see some other schools possibly look at that as, maybe. We could see some crazy things. I know P.S. Doff there in chat seems to kind of be thinking maybe along the same lines that it's a crazy thought, and you got to put your hat on for this one, but I'm thinking that we might possibly see some trades. It's a crazy idea, but it's how you don't lose value. It's how you don't have to worry about exits. Like here's crazy, right? Total
barter
crazy
agreements
way out
you're
there.
talking? Here?
I'm talking
considerations. I would call them considerations.
Yes, these 2 schools go to you, and we take those 2 schools from you. Consider this. USC and Northwestern to the ACC for California and Florida State.
I don't see that happening. I don't see.
I know,
that.
but it's equal value. It's pretty equal value,
right? Yeah. I see where you're coming from, but I think it'd be more of a consideration thing where they would say, "Look, we will schedule Ohio State to play Notre Dame in a home and away."
That's the
for the next 5 years,
and that's probably the more likely thing. But I'm just throwing something, long shot, because the value is equal, and USC with Notre Dame with Miami. At this point in time, Stanford can get back picked up because they're not getting kicked around by the entire Pac conference. Duke's on the come up. It opens up opportunities for schools to get better because they're not getting kicked around. Just a thought, but if you're going to do something like that, you got to figure out one that has equal value. And so that's why I came up with that one.
Yeah. Going to the chat here, and let's pick one last game, guys. So Cleveland Rock says, "Hey, Wild, you are a K-State fan. Thoughts on the game?" So K-State is playing UCF, an undefeated UCF team. They're going to Manhattan this Saturday, really for their Big 12 kickoff, I believe, for UCF. So what are your guys' thoughts on that game? I can pull up the spread right here, but generally, what are your thoughts?
Mo, you got ones on that?
I have no comment on it. I thought we were all going to do an upset special. I don't know if K-State's the upset on that one or not.
K-State's a favorite by 3.5 points.
Oh, okay.
Over/under 52 points.
To me, it's pretty easy. I mean, they couldn't do it on the road to Missouri. What makes you think they're going to be able to do it on the road at UCF?
This game's in Manhattan, so this game's in.
It's at Manhattan. Oh, well, that's different.
Bill Snyder Family Stadium in Kansas. Yep.
I think Kansas State actually comes back on that and wins.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, there's been
I agree.
In Cat Country and K-State Country, there's a lot of conversation about the quarterback Howard, and there's a really stud guy that's his backup right now that might be playing a lot of snaps, and that's Avery Johnson. It's going to be a star for the Cats, one of the best quarterback recruits they've ever had. There's a lot of buzz around him. I think the Cats tough to beat at home, so I'm taking the Cats over UCF and kind of throw out that first loss for UCF here. So that's the take on that game. Guys, I'll just ask you, is there any other topics you want to bring up tonight?
My upset special for the weekend is to take Rutgers and the points up against Michigan.
What's
and Immaculate agrees with. I haven't checked what today
I
is.
agree that that's the one to watch. Unfortunately, it's on the Big Ten Network, and I can't watch it without buying that down here at a ridiculous price. But that's the one that I would have used to. God, I have a tough time picking it, but that could be it. That could be the upset of the week.
Are you talking
Well,
about
it
Rutgers over
is
Michigan? You guys are saying there's
24.
an upset
The point spread is 24.5 or 24. Yeah, 24.5 is the spread.
Definitely for the
Michigan
points,
is
but I mean possibly straight up. Rutgers' defense is solid, and JJ McCarthy has not been good this year. Of all the quarterbacks that they're comparing for Heisman's, he is nowhere near the other ones, and they have not had stout competition. So, a good thing they got some good running backs on that team, because I don't know what's going on with him this year. He is not impressive as he should be. I mean, how funny would it be if Cade gets better numbers than him on the year at Iowa?
Yeah, I can't pick against the Michigan, especially
It's
versus
24.5.
He's saying for the points, and for that,
Rutgers. Straight
definitely.
up. Yeah, I'm
But
talking
straight
about
up-
Oh, okay. Well, straight up, yeah. No, I'm not going to take Rutgers to beat them straight up.
But if that happens, that's one of those things where it's in the realm of possibility. I don't know, 10%, 15%.
Yeah, there's some disconnect here, guys. Like Craig, I'm with you, Craig. Craig in the comments saying Rutgers sucks. They may cover only because Michigan hasn't played anyone decent. Really, what is it? What is this with Rutgers? Like what are non-big
I've watched them a
fans
little bit.
not-
watch
They
their
are
games.
not Rutgers of the past right now. They're even saying that they're 1 year away from being true contenders, and their defense is mean. They're good. I don't really, and their offense has put up points, but they're a defensive team. So of course I'm kind of looking at them going, oh, I like this. So
Yeah, Greg Schiano is the difference. Greg Schiano.
Well, Greg
He's
Schiano's
the
been there
first-
for like a decade, right?
No,
I think he
No,
left
no,
and
no,
came
no.
back.
he left,
Yeah.
went to the NFL and was the coach of the Buccaneers for a while, and then bounced around with some D coordinator positions, and then Urban Meyer brought him in to Ohio State. He was the coach there. I think the first year Ryan Day was the coach. Schiano was the defensive coordinator. It might have been the last year,
I'm
but
not
he's only
sure.
been there like 3 or 4 seasons.
Yeah, he just came back, and they're
Yeah.
looking like a different team. I think he's had a year to recruit, if I'm not mistaken.
Here we go, guys. So here's Rutgers. We'll pull up a schedule. You seeing the screen here?
Yeah.
All right, here. So they've got Northwestern, a win versus that was the Northwestern's first game after the scandal and
Okay.
everything. So
Yeah.
that's kind of a throw out. But then you've got Temple, and then you've got Virginia Tech. That game appears like these were all home games. So
I mean, their offense is consistently putting up the same amount. Their defense is solid.
So we've got 3
Yeah,
wins
good
here.
at-
I'm curious here for the FPI view, this Rutgers game.
Oh,
So,
That
it
was
looks
right.
like Michigan about 85%. According
I
to
was right on the
Football Wire,
percentage. At 10 to 20% area right there.
but I want to see it, guys. I want to see it. I want to see Rutgers, get close, pull it out, maybe. I mean, like if immaculate, if you're picking this game straight up, right? Is that what you're saying?
No. I would if I was if I
all
was
that
picking it,
bluster.
there's no reason for me to. No, I'm saying they could win it straight up. But I mean, if I was actually, making picks and bets and all that, no, I'd take the points. I'm not gonna, unless you were offering me some crazy winning odds to actually go straight up, which I'm sure
let's
they
see
have
what
out there.
The money
But
line is. The money line is probably pretty good. Yeah, your money line is going to be 12.50. So I would definitely, if you're that confident, go hit up the casino or an online sports book and maybe
throw
put
down
a
like
dime
100.
on that.
Yeah, throw down
Yeah.
100 on that. I don't know. I think that if there is a major story upset out there that could just make everyone go, Colorado what? I think it would be if Rutgers beats Michigan.
Yeah. I mean, the game that I'm really watching is that CU game, guys, versus Oregon, and I know that everyone's
No,
taking
I'll be
Oregon
watching
big.
it too. I mean, you have to at this point.
I mean, Oregon is so fun to watch, and CU obviously is must view television. So that's the one that I'm really going to pay attention to. I think it's going to be a close game and stuff. So while I'm not predicting the straight up upset, I'm predicting a tight game, which is going to be my big take of the week here. So. All right, guys, I think we're going to wind this down. Thank you all in the chat for being with us today. Any final words, Immaculate?
Well, despite the fact that this is an amazing weekend of football, my eyes are actually still going on over there in the Northwest and what's going down up there, and them basically saying we're not really for relegation. That was something we didn't really get into too much, but that's a big story, and that was a big press conference that they held. So maybe we should get into that later this week, next week, that is. And I think that we are going to get something about that this month still, if not early next month.
Gotcha. Moan.
Go Bucks. Beat the Irish.
Best background ever right there, my friend. Love it. Yeah, seriously, I'm rooting for Ohio State in that game just for you in the background.
I'd love to have a home and home with Utah and Ohio State. I think you'd love it.
Hey, Moen, who is that guy just peeping at you right there over your right shoulder? There's a dude just looking at you, man.
Yeah, who's looking at you, Moen?
Who is that dude? He's just been staring at you.
Dude? Oh my God. Well, it's
staring at
obviously
you
the
the
jig
whole
is
time.
up, and security is going to throw me out of Ohio Stadium. I better get out of here before I get thrown out.
All right, so guys, like my
I got
view here.
permission to be here.
My view here is so Utah, big game this week, tomorrow. I mean, Dante Moore is a stud, future possible number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. He's that talented. I want to watch the Utes contain him in the pocket. Don't let him escape. That scares the crap out of me in this game. I think the Utes are going to get pressure. I think that we're going to get to him. It's going to be loud, an environment he's never been in before. And I think the Utes covering the spread again. And that's how we're going to finish this off. Go Utes. We'll see how the Cougars do. And Big 12 Mafia will be back for the next show and stuff. He had to drop early tonight. But you all have a good week and enjoy the games this Saturday. Take care.
All right, buddy. You guys have a good one.
Yep.